Welcome everyone to the first video on the VFA channel. This is going to be a short introduction to the VFA Global Cup, what this tournament is, how it works, how the qualification system is built, and how we decide which clubs make it all the way to the group stage. The idea is pretty simple. We're taking clubs from EA Sports FC 26, letting the computer play against itself and building a full football tournament around it. So I'm not doing anything, no manual controls, just computer played football, group stages, knockouts, etc. For the first season, I went through every top division available in the game. That includes the major European leagues, the non-European leagues, and also the rest of the world. In total, the tournament system includes clubs from 38 different nations. Now, because obviously EAFC does not have every league in the world, and some countries only have one or two clubs in the game, it is not a perfect real-world football system. But I wanted to make it as fair and as structured as possible. So the first thing I had to build was a coefficient system. The way I calculated the coefficient was based on club star ratings. So every club in EAFC has a star rating, and that rating represents the general quality of the first 11 in the team. So for each country, I looked at the clubs available in the game, counted their star ratings, added them together, and divided that number by the amount of clubs being counted. For example, England is the easiest one to explain. In the Premier League, there are 3 clubs with 5 stars, 7 clubs with 4.5 stars, and 10 clubs with 4 stars. When you add all of that together, you get 86.5 total stars. Then you divide that by 20 clubs and England gets a coefficient of 4.33. That made England's Premier League the highest ranked league in the VFA coefficient table. But there's one extra rule that I made. I only counted clubs from the top 3 star rating levels in each country. So for example, if a country has clubs rated 4.5 stars, 4 stars, 3.5 stars, 3 stars, and 2.5 stars, I only counted the clubs from the top 3 levels. So in that example, only the 4.5, 4, and 3.5 star clubs would count. I did this because I wanted the coefficient to represent the strength of the clubs that could realistically compete in an international tournament. I didn't want one league to be dragged down too much just because it has a lot of lower rated teams at the bottom. This way, the coefficient is more about the competitive strength of each country's best clubs. And yeah, this took me like a week, as I did all of this the old school way. So I went through all the teams, writing things down, counting the stars, checking the ratings, dividing all that, building the full list, pen and paper style. Took a lot longer than I expected, but in the end I think the system came out pretty clean. Now, the main tournament is pretty simple, nothing you didn't see before. So the VFA Global Cup group stage will have 32 clubs. Those 32 clubs will be split into 8 groups of 4 teams. Each club plays every other club in the group twice, 1 home match and 1 away match. So every team plays 6 group stage matches, right? The top 2 teams from each group will advance to the round of 16. From there, it's a normal knockout tournament. But before we get to the group stage, we need to find out which 32 clubs will actually qualify. And that's where the qualification rounds come in. So there are 128 clubs in the full qualification process. Not all of them start in the same round. So the strongest clubs enter later, while the lower ranked clubs have to start earlier. There are 3 stages before the group stage: Qualification Round 1, Qualification Round 2, and the playoff round. So I'll try to explain this as simple as possible. Qualification Round 1 starts with 64 clubs. These are mostly clubs from the lower ranked leagues in the coefficient table. The winners of these matches advance to Qualification Round 2. So 64 clubs enter Round 1, 32 clubs move on. So Round 1 features clubs from all leagues except the 6 highest ranking leagues: England, Italy, Spain, Germany, Portugal, and Turkey. Those 6 countries do not have any clubs in Qualification Round 1 because their teams enter later in the qualification system. In Qualification Round 2, the 32 winners from Round 1 are joined by 32 new clubs. These new clubs come from the higher ranked leagues. So England, Italy, Spain, Germany, Portugal, and Turkey. So Round 2 also has 64 clubs in total. And again, 64 clubs will enter round 2 and 32 clubs will move on. The 32 winners advance to the playoff round. The playoff round is the final step before the group stage. So here, the 32 winners from the qualification round 2 face 32 elite seeded clubs. That's what I named them. These seeded clubs are the strongest teams in the entire tournament system based on star rating, overall strength, and coefficient position. So this is where clubs like the biggest teams in Europe and the strongest global clubs finally enter. So again, 64 clubs enter the playoff round and 32 clubs qualify for the VFA Global Cup group stage. And those 32 winners are the clubs that make it into the main tournament. So in the simplest possible way, and as I said, nothing you didn't see before, 128 clubs start the road, 64 begin in round 1, 32 more enter in round 2, 32 elite clubs wait in the playoff round, and only 32 clubs reach the group stage. That's the full qualification path. Now, because every country has a different coefficient, every country gets a different number of clubs. The strongest leagues get more club and later entry points. The lower ranked leagues start earlier and usually have fewer clubs. For example, England finished as the highest ranked country by coefficient, so England gets 4 clubs directly in the playoff round, 6 clubs entering in qualification round 2, and no clubs in qualification round 1. On the other side, some countries only have 1 club available in a game, so even if their coefficient position could theoretically give them more places, they can only send the clubs that actually exist in EAFC 26. That's why countries like Brazil, Colombia, Hungary, Chile, Cyprus, UAE, Thailand, Finland, and Ireland have fewer representatives. Of course, I know it's not a perfect real-world system, but with the clubs available in the game, I think this was the fairest way to do it. And honestly, it also makes the tournament more interesting. You'll get massive clubs, smaller clubs, and some random rest of the world clubs, and weird matchups that you would never normally see. And that's kind of the whole point of this. There were also a few cases where 2 clubs had the exact same rating. Same star rating, same overall strength, or close enough that I could not really separate them fairly. So instead of just choosing one randomly, I made them play a preliminary match. Basically a mini qualifier before the real qualification rounds even started. There were 7 of these matches. 5 of them decided which clubs would enter qualification round 1. 1 match decided a club for qualification round 2, and 1 match decided who would go directly into the playoff round. So you can see those matches on your screens. So we had Dinamo Bucuresti beat Universitatea Cluj, and they entered the qualification round 1. Malmö beat Mjällby and advanced. Rapid Vienna beat Lask. Rosenborg beat Bran on penalties. Belgrano beat Rosario Central. And in Turkey, Kocaelispor beat Gaziantep 2-1, and they also earned a place in qualification round 2. Probably the biggest preliminary match was AC Milan against Napoli. Milan won that match, so they entered directly into the playoff round, while Napoli entered qualification round 2. And that's it. So everything is ready, the coefficient table is done, club allocation is done, preliminary matches are finished. I also did the first qualification draw. I did that off screen, but for the next rounds I might even record it or do a live stream. First, 64 clubs are ready to begin the road to the VFA Global Cup. Qualification round 1 will be the first real stage of the tournament. There will be 32 matches in total. The winners move on to the qualification round 2, where the stronger clubs are already waiting. For this first round, I'm going to upload daily highlight videos. Each video will include multiple matches, best chances, goals, results, and updates on who's moving forward. I will also post short clips from the best moments on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram. After the full round is finished, I will probably do a review video as well, where we go through all the results, top scorers, biggest surprises, and all the teams that look dangerous going into the next round. Honestly, this is something I have wanted to do for a long time. When I was a kid, I used to do this all the time on old FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer games. I would let the computer play against itself, write down the results in my notebook, create groups, fake tournaments, and basically treat it like a real football competition. The only difference now is that I'm actually recording it, editing it, making graphics, scoreboards, thumbnails, tables, and all of that. So this is kind of the same idea, just taken way more seriously. And of course, I know it's a bit niche, but I think it can be really fun if the tournament starts creating its own stories. You know, smaller clubs beating bigger clubs, random teams going on deep runs, crazy CPU goals. Yeah, I think it could be pretty funny. And since this is computer versus computer, I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen, especially on EAFC's engine. That's probably the most fun part. So yeah, this is the idea of the VFA Global Cup. 128 clubs start the road, 32 clubs will reach the group stage, and only one club will win the trophy. The first qualification round starts tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the first match day of the VFA Global Cup. Bye bye.